All right, we're recording in progress. Got it. All right, so we're calling to order this meeting. Hello, Jim. Hello, Dan. Caleb, Ryan, everybody's here. Great. Okay, Vince. So the first thing to announce is that the board has met at our board meeting, and we all decided that we should have our general assembly meeting in person again, in real life, back at the church for April. And unless anybody has a strong objection to that, the board seemed happy with that unanimously. So obviously people could come and sit way in the back or wear a mask or whatever they're comfortable with. Any commentary on that, or would that be generally okay? All right, I don't hear anybody yelling at me, so I guess that's okay. So we'll do our next meeting at the church. And we actually thought it would be kind of fun to have a little bit of a party to celebrate being back in real life. And so we may create something that is kind of a little fun as part of our return to real life.
Hey, Don, just so that everybody knows, do we know if we'll have the like the actual big room or the one that we normally use?
I was thinking we'd have the one we normally use, but I will ask Pastor Chris and figure it out. Are you thinking the sanctuary would be a better place to
I would
spread
think
out?
if we want to space out just to make people more comfortable, but
Uh-huh.
we can put that in the announcement.
Yeah, let me ask him, because that has a sound system and it might work better. So good idea. Well, good. All right, so we'll work on that. So tonight, Officer Jasmine is on the call, and she has the latest from the statistics on any crimes, any questions people have. So we'll let her do her report, and then she can get on with her life tonight. So take it away.
Thank you, Don. Hope everyone is having a good evening. So I have crime stats for the past 30 days for Benton Park, and there were a total of 11 reported incidents that required a police report. So for the month, like I said, it's 11, which brings your crime rate down by a negative 38.9%. And the three incidents for, let's see, what's this one? So there were 3 incidents of larceny, which included motor vehicle parts being stolen. Those occurred in the 2900 block of Indiana, the 1900 block of Sydney, and the 2100 block of Sydney. So something probably like a catalytic converter theft or license plate theft. Those are all classified as stolen vehicle parts. Then there was 2 other larcenies, which included stolen items from inside a vehicle. And those occurred in the 2200 block of Gravois and the 2200 block of Arsenal. We also had 2 thefts from a garage, which occurred in 3200 block of Indiana and the 3300 block of Lemp. There was a total of 3 motor vehicle thefts, which occurred in the 1900 block of Sydney, the 1800 block of Pestalozzi, and the 3300 block of Lemp. As of today, only one of those vehicles has been recovered and a suspect was arrested. There was also 1 aggravated assault, which did not include a firearm. And this also occurred in the 3300 block of Lemp. It was a domestic dispute, and the suspect has been entered as wanted by SLMPD. And that was the total crime for the month of February.
I have a question.
Yes.
You know, on that feed that you can get, like all the calls that go to police.
Mm-hmm.
I know that if they don't result in a reportable write up, either some kind of arrest or a need for report. It doesn't show up on your statistics, but there had been a whole lot of trouble on the 2900 block of Missouri. It's right by Yamandra, Brazil. Maybe Dan, you know about this. There were like all these reports of domestic disturbance and assault, and then I saw like ambulances and fire trucks, and like it was like a whole big thing for about a week. There was all kinds of stuff going on there. That never shows up in the crime report, but I always wonder if like there are people who are having troubles, and stressing, and maybe community helpers. Like, how can we find out about that stuff if it doesn't get reported to Dan?
So what happens is each call, every time someone calls 911, an incident is created for that. And it'll tell us if the officer needed to make a report on it. And if the officer did not make a report, sometimes most of the officer will add call notes to it to say how that incident was resolved. And we can always go into our system and pull that incident up. I can put in an address and it'll give me all the calls that has occurred at that location. So when I run the crime stats, it's just giving me all the incidents that were reported that had a report attached to it. Now, what I can do is I can still run the calls for service with like in a certain area and tell you how many calls are coming in Benton Park. If you would like something like that too. It's going to be a whole lot of them, but I can still kind of give you a rough amount of about how many calls are coming in each month.
Right. Yeah, I understand that the difference between reportable and written up things that officially enter the statistics versus just stuff that happens where maybe an officer comes and calms things down and nothing really goes beyond that, right?
Right. So like any particular incident you were concerned about where you seen police at, you can always send me an email or something and just say, hey, what happened, on this date and this time at this address.
Right.
I can't give you all the details, but I can give you, the main thing that, what occurred.
Okay, right. Because for example, there's someone living in her car on Lynch over by Lemp for a while. You know about this one, Dan, right? And people kept reporting, suspicious occupant of car, suspicious. And then sometimes there was some altercations happening. It seemed like it was an issue. And maybe, as a community, we can be helpful in one way or another if we know a little more about what's happening. Same thing with all those domestic disturbances on Congress, Senate for a while. Anyway, so that's the kind of thing, Dan, if you have any thoughts on that, that would be good to know. Because I get a lot of requests from people. They say they look at this feed and they go, there's all kinds of stuff going on in the neighborhood, but it never shows up on the crime report. And maybe we can do a little better at being helpful to our neighbors when we can, or at least knowing what happened, not worrying that some terrible stuff is going on.
Yeah, and a lot of the time, people can call the police, and once we get there, they would refuse our service, or maybe a neighbor will hear another neighbor arguing, or and they would call the police for them. And when we arrive, they would tell us, "We didn't call you. We don't need help." So.
Right, got it. Okay, well, good. That's helpful. We can reach out to you if we are concerned about a repeating problem that seems like a domestic, or maybe ways that could be intervened that, police can't do everything. They shouldn't be asked to do everything. So good, thank you. That's helpful.
You're welcome. Did
Anybody
anyone
have-
else have any questions?
Yeah, any other questions for tonight? Okay, well, good. Thank you so much. And Officer Jasmine's going to send up the reports. So I'll put them up. We're going to create a page on the website so that things will be up there for people.
Yeah, and if you want, I can send you what I have for today too. I can send you that tomorrow.
Yeah, please do that. Then we'll use that as a first sketch for how we're going to do that. Okay.
Okay, no problem. Everyone, I hope you all enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Very good.
Thanks,
Thank
Jazz.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, good. Other announcements from me are that we're still looking for someone to do our social media and be chair of that committee. So if any of you know people who know things about social media, please recommend them to reach out to us, and maybe they would get a position to be part of things. We're in the meantime, we're all just kind of doing it as we can. And other announcements are the merchandise in our Benton Park store, that we sell at various meetings and events, and that we sell online in the store. We're basically out of everything. So Brittany and some other people on the board are looking into what other kinds of shirts, sweatshirts, paraphernalia, merchandise that would be cool, that people would like and that might want to suggest. So if you all have any ideas for things that that people would like, or for example, Debbie Carroll told me that in the past they used to get those little like polo shirts with the collar and a Benton Park logo on, and people seem to like them in addition to the t-shirts. So feel free to send us information if you think of something that might be a cool fundraiser and branded logo thing for the neighborhood association, and we'll put it in the mix to order. That's about all I have to announce. So I'm happy to turn it over for Dan to give us, the Alderman report.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Well, happy Fat Tuesday, everyone, and happy first day of Women's History Month. So we have a lot to celebrate today. Thank you, everyone, for being here. A couple of things, I guess, for almost 3 years now, I usually start out with COVID updates. Yesterday, we had a Health and Human Services Committee hearing where the city's health commissioner or health director gave us an update on where we are in relationship to our vaccination numbers, as well as the transmission numbers in the city, and to really kind of talk about where we were with the future of the mask mandate. I'm sure a lot of people saw that yesterday, St. Louis County has lifted their mask mandate and are moving to a mask recommendation indoors, as well as the state of Missouri. So I had some questions about, trying to keep the city aligned with what our metro area is doing. So it sounds like right now our current mask mandate will be expiring at the end of this week. I think March 6th is the formal expiration date. And from the meeting yesterday, it sounds like the Dr. Mahdi, our health director, is going to move towards a very strong recommendation for indoor masking. So basically we'll be lifting the mask mandate. However, she was, very clear on pointing out that children 0 to 4 still cannot get vaccination shots. And we have a high number of people in the city that do have underlying conditions. So it's kind of a recommendation that if you're still going into crowded places where you might not be able to be 6 feet apart from people or large indoor spaces, it is still highly recommended to wear masks, but we will be, it sounds like we will be lifting our permanent mask mandate coming this week here. So that's kind of the biggest news on the front of COVID. We also, we have a lot of the ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan Act funds that we just approved. I believe it was another $68 million that was approved last week. Out of that, I have some kind of few things. So out of the this next second round of funding that we've approved, it's really going to be mostly kind of our capital improvements bill. A lot of items that are capital improvements that we've have a dire need for in the city. So One of the things that was approved was $4.2 million to completely finish off all of the LED lighting in the city. So for the last 5 years, with our ward capital money, we've been able to allocate small amounts so that, maybe I can do 10 blocks in a year where I'll move them from the sodium lights to the LED lights. But we, by doing it ward by ward, we weren't really able to cover the entire city. So the $4.2 million will be to convert all of our sodium lights over to LED, which will then save, not only save the city money, but the lights themselves last much longer. So we have another $1 million going into the refuse division for our trash task force cameras. Right now, the alley cameras that we have, if we have spots with illegal dumping, an officer actually has to physically go to the location, get up onto the pole and retrieve the video from these things. So right now we are looking to upgrade and actually have cameras that we can deploy in our alleys that are cellular connected so that we can download feed from them without having to physically go and climb a pole and retrieve information. So another $1 million going to that. We have, it looks like about $8 million going towards 4 major road pavements, Union, Grand, Kings Highway, and Jefferson. So we are finally gonna get all of Jefferson paved from this is a little over $1 million to do Jefferson, going from Chippewa up to Shodo. And then from Shodo going north, there's already funding in place because of the NGA. So Shodo going all the way up to Purnell, that's already funded. We'll be able to fund finally the southern part of Jefferson and get that entirely paved. So excited about that. We have $6.5 million going to parks, recreation, and forestry. Out of that, one of the things that I'm happy about is we're putting a little over $1 million into hazardous tree removal. We have, if you go down Jefferson, I can think of one right at Jefferson, Utah, where we have 3 very large oak trees that have been dead a long time, and they keep dropping limbs. And we just haven't been able to get caught up using our forestry manpower. So this $1.1 million is going to be actually contracted out so that we can get some of these large hazardous trees removed. We're also going to be doing improvements in rec centers. Cherokee Rec Center hasn't been open for quite some time because our boilers are broken there. So we're having 2 boilers replaced there. Fire department is getting $16 million out of that. Out of that $16 million, we're getting 8 new ambulances. We're getting 9 new pumper trucks, 2 125-foot ladder trucks, and 1 75-foot ladder trucks. So we're working on trying to get our vehicles, kind of our stock. Apparently the fire department and police department like to kind of do a third of their entire vehicle stock every 2 years. So we're hoping that this will get us about 2/3 of what we need done for our fire department. A couple other things in there I'm sure everyone saw. The Justice Center, when we had the windows broken and the uprisings at the Justice Center and all the stuff that was in the news about the locks. So we actually have a total of $12.5 million going to finally completely fix all the issues that we have at the Justice Center. And then there's another $8 million for other municipal buildings, another $10 million for other city vehicles, refuse trucks, forestry trucks, streets department. So again, it's all kind of capital improvements. They're things that we had a citizens-led capital improvement committee that has been meeting for over a year. And a lot of the recommendations that they made are what were put into this Board Bill 184, which is a total of about $87 million actually that will be our next round of capital improvement ARPA funds. We will be getting in June, we'll be getting kind of our second tranche of ARPA funds, another $150 million. Out of that, there's a handful of things that we're pushing for. We're going to actually be having another small business grant program going out for a lot of the small businesses that were not able to apply for the first rounds of the payroll protection funds or other I guess programs that have already come. So we're going to have another $5 million going towards small businesses that will open up in the spring of 2022 here. So shortly we'll have that open. And then we're also putting about there's $35 million that we're going to put towards affordable housing development and a healthy home repair program. So right now the healthy home repair program for seniors is on about a 10-year backlist of properties that we haven't been able to get to. So we're hoping we can get a lot of these programs kind of flushed out with the ARPA funds. So really there's a lot going on with ARPA, and that's kind of what we're spending most of our time on right now. We do have just another 2 weeks at the board before we go into our spring break, and then we'll be back in mid-April to start back up again. But those are kind of some of the highlights. Did want to mention, just kind of going with Don's questions earlier and what Officer Garrett was saying. We have put 2 new programs in place in the last year that are basically alternative response programs for the police. This was also recently in the news, talking about 2 of the programs, the cops and clinicians. And then we have a 911 diversion program, which sends when people call 911 for things that might be domestic or might be behavioral health. We have a behavioral health response team that takes a lot of those calls. And so just looking at the notes I have here from it, it says in the last 8 months since the program started in 2021, the cops and clinicians program, as well as the behavioral health response program, has saved the police department and the EMS well over 2,000 work hours by responding to priorities that are deemed for behavioral health or mental health issues. And that is estimated at saving the city $2.2 million because of being able to take, instead of sending our police officers and our EMS to deal with everything, we're able to actually send behavioral health providers or, experts that are able to respond. And then it says it's also the diversion program has not required police or EMS nearly 500 ambulance dispatches for about $400,000 of cost to the city. So we do have new programs that we've been putting in place to try to not just send police officers to every scene and actually try to send people that might be more qualified to help. And with the 2900 block of Missouri, I've known of two houses there. One, a woman that did have some behavioral health issues was actually being evicted. I think she had a lot of the calls. She actually had her house foreclosed on. And so there were a lot of calls that were going for kind of her response to having to leave her house. And then there was a domestic disturbance that we were getting a lot of calls about, but we were able to send some of the professionals to be able to deal with those. So to kind of backtrack on that, Don, if you do have, or if anyone has certain questions about, I saw the police in this block last night, what happened? A lot of times I send Barb an email, Barb Potts, our NSO, and then she's able to go ahead and look things up as well as Officer Garrett. So, but Barb can always answer some of those questions. If you're saying, what happened last night in the 2900 block of Missouri, she can pull the calls for service and kind of report back to you. So don't be afraid to reach out to her if you have questions. So that is about all I have on Board of Alderman stuff. Are there any questions about the city?
Yes, there are questions.
Okay.
Hey, Dan, this is Caleb.
Hi, Caleb.
So I would like a report on what's going on with recycling. And there's some anecdotal hearsay that the dumpsters at the firehouse are actually getting dumped in with regular trash. Mm-hmm. So that it actually would seem as though there's no effort at all to recycle anything at all.
So let me go ahead and
okay.
Just go with this one. So yeah, I also had a number of phone calls about 2 weeks ago about some neighbors that saw the trash truck empty the dumpsters at the firehouse and then just turn the alley and empty regular cans. I reported that into the refuse director. They were able to go back and look at their GPS and look at the truck itself when it emptied and found that that did happen. And that driver was put on a 14-day suspension. So if you see stuff like that, we can reach out. I can reach out directly to the refuse director and say, hey, these are the eyes on the street. This is what they saw, and they will check it. And that driver was suspended for 2 weeks for doing something he was not supposed to. But they are back to, I just took my recycling to the firehouse today. And then the long term, it's been a priority of myself and the mayor's administration to try to figure out how to get back to fully recycling in the alleys. We are still about 20 drivers short. That's the reason why they decided to pick up the alley recycling with everything else, because we don't have enough drivers to do the 55 rounds per day that we need in order to separate them both. So some of the things that we've done, we have a $3,000 hiring bonus to anyone that has a CDL and wants to work for refuse. We have trucks, we just need drivers. So anyone that you know that has a CDL, we have a $3,000 signing bonus right now. We've also, we have contracted with a group that's called Rubicon that does kind of fleet management modernization. They did a big project in Kansas City and helped Kansas City's refuse department get more of their, just get more efficient. Right now, when we miss a route and I call refuse and say this alley was missed, it goes up on a Post-it note on the wall. So what this Rubicon group is doing is they actually, and I have information on it right here. They're doing a 3-month pilot project for free. They're doing it for free to the city. That is going to modernize how our routes are run so that everything is on a GPS and that they actually do track the most efficient routes for our trucks. A lot of times because of our alleys teeing, you'll see the truck go down one way and then back up and then go all the way around the block and then come in the other tee. Well, apparently this programs that Rubicon is able to deploy tells us how to run our routes more efficiently so that we can maybe not have 55 routes a day. Maybe we can have less routes to where we can resume alley recycling. So definitely a priority we've been working on for quite some time. But those are our 2 things we're doing about recycling.
So Dan, if you're saying that if you only had the drivers, and I'm not sure why the city can't hire more drivers, but if you had the drivers, that you're saying that you actually have the trucks.
We do have the trucks. Yep.
So there's 20 trucks sitting there idle every day without drivers. It's not as though the city also needs trucks. Is that true?
Well, we do have some trucks that are breaking down, which is why in that ARPA funds that are reported, we are getting some additional trucks. But besides not having drivers, we also the city's low on mechanics. So now our trucks, our trash trucks, our streets trucks, fire department, a lot of those, instead of having internal mechanics, we have to basically send them out to other mechanics, which takes longer. So I'm not saying we have 20 trucks sitting. There might be, 8 trucks, maybe 12 trucks that are not operational because we don't have the drivers.
There's 20 operational
vacant
trucks,
spots,
20
yes.
operational trucks waiting for 20 drivers.
Correct.
Or
Yep.
are there 5 operational trucks waiting for 20 drivers?
Oh, we're good with trucks. We just need
Okay.
drivers. So, yep.
so-
And this is, I mean, it's forestry can't hire, arborists, refuse can't hire CDL qualified truck drivers. Our police department can't hire. I mean, every department and go to your local restaurant. They can't hire servers. I mean, this is just kind of the weird time we're in. But that's why we put the $3,000 signing bonus into place. And hopefully with the signing bonus, we've had a signing bonus in effect for about 4 months now. And it's kind of working, but we need more.
Well, I will say that I took my recycling up to a place just on Kings Highway, just north of Highway 44.
Mhm.
So I took up a printer there to recycle, which I paid so much a pound to recycle. But he also accepts cardboard and paper. You have to sort it between cardboard and paper. He also takes glass and plastic bottles, and they actually go somewhere where the stuff gets recycled. He makes money on the paper and the cardboard, and he subsidizes the bottles and the plastic. And it's a single man operation up there run by a fellow, Jerry Witter, and under the name of Earth Circle. So you can also take your office shredding up there, and for a fee, he'll shred all your documents that you don't want to throw in the trash can. So he's kind of a handy guy. And so, if people are already in their cars taking trash to the firehouse, occasionally you might consider storing up a little bit more and taking it up to this fellow on Kings Highway at 44.
Mhm. Thanks, Caleb. That's good. Hey,
Okay.
Dan, do you have any other information about the 911 operators? Because if all these wonderful programs need to be deployed and you get a busy signal or it rings, what's the latest with that? That's crucial, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let me look really quick here. So out of the 80, well, whatever it was, I said $87 million that we just approved last week. Out of that, there's a total of $3.2 million that is going towards our public safety answering system. It's called PSAP, Public Safety Answering Point /911. And what we're doing is we currently have kind of three different, and the problem was we had three different divisions of 911. So you would call 911, it would either be a police, it would be a EMS, or it would be a fire. And then they'd have to kind of sort it out. So we're combining our city police and fire dispatchers. I had a call 911 last night, and they answered at 8 o'clock last night. They answered as soon as I called. So this combination of our dispatchers we've been putting in place, but then we're putting this $3.2 million into a system that will allow us to basically every time a call is made, that it's going to kind of automatically be picked up by one of them, and then this system sorts it to where it needs to go. So we're working on kind of merging those three individual phone lines into a system that can work with all three at the same time. So we are definitely making the moves to get that taken care of.
Great. Thanks. Any other questions for Dan? All right, let's move on to our treasurer report. We don't have a lot going on, but let's let Ryan just give us a quick update.
Yeah. Hey, everyone, how's it going? Hope everyone's having a good night. Yeah, like Don said, not a lot going on right now. I've had a pretty slow start to the year. Just seeing a few membership, dues come in, which is always good to see. One bit of good news, we did get pretty gracious donation here recently. I don't want to throw out any names without any approval, but obviously very, very nice to see that, and definitely helpful for our community, and helps us meet our budget, and just good in general for helping us do events. So I just wanted to throw a thank you out there to that member. But yeah, other than that, nothing too much, but I'm sure we'll see an uptick here later when we start doing some more events and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thanks. Our events committee chair, Brittany, was not able to come tonight, but they are working on planning some fun stuff for the summer and fall season. And you'll, get to see that in the next meeting or on online on the website. So since Bill and Marion are here, let's hear about the interesting things going on with the cave and the garden.
Yeah, hello, everybody. What we've been doing the past couple months is trying to figure out with the deed for the garden. We'd like to get that maybe with the BPNA itself instead of the Gateway Greening Land Trust. So we've been working on that issue for since last September. And we're also working on looking at if we should form a new 501c3 that might handle, taking on the cave project more or less. So that's something else that we've been studying in the background here. And the third thing is, if we do some of these activities, more trying to connect with the cave itself, we would need insurance to help cover that additional liability in the garden there. So we've been working on getting a bid from our insurance company, and that's still in progress also. So hopefully within the next, say, at the end of 2 or 3 months from now, possibly, we'll have more of a structured plan that we could present to the general membership about a possible vote on what might happen with integrating the cave, into the garden like we always wish for. And so that's something that's in the works more or less. So we're trying to figure out the best way to handle this. Are there any questions about those 3 aspects? Okay, Don, do you have anything to wrap up that little summary?
Are there any plots available for the garden this year? If are they all already taken by returning people?
Well, we're going to create like 3 new garden areas for, for new people more or less. But right now we only have 1 person on the sign up list for this year.
Uh-huh.
And I assume that everybody's coming back right now from last year. Nobody has actually dropped out for 2022 yet.
Okay. Well, good. Great. Thanks.
Yep, everything's going okay, Appreciate your help, everybody.
Good. And Haley is our new director of the dog park. So she can tell us about plans for the beasts and the humans.
Yes. So still sitting strong at about 105 members. We have, this is our 3rd season now. The dog park being open, memberships are from summer to summer. We'll start working on spring maintenance soon. So if anyone's interested in some work days out at the park, feel free to shoot me an email. We'll get those set up once the weather starts to get a little more consistent. Can always use more volunteers, but things are going well.
Good. May the grass grow
Yes.
quickly, and everyone will be happy. Speaking of grass growing and parks, is there anything you want to put out there, Dan, about the parks if you're still there? I know you sometimes get people together to do cleanups and.
Yep, I am still here. Yes, spring is in the air. We have crocus blooming in the park, so it's official. I have a cleanup at the corner of Jefferson and Arsenal scheduled for Saturday, March 12th. I have some volunteers coming from Brightside, St. Louis, my favorite neighborhood cleaning and greening group. So 9 to noon on Saturday, March 12th. If you would like to help, we will be working on getting the butterfly garden at the corner kind of spring ready. But then I'll probably also have a few people doing trash pickup through there. I also, from Brightside, I have about 12 litter grabbers that I've been holding on to underneath the park. So as we get into spring here, if you have either a desire to help clean up your street or the park or one of our 4 parks in the neighborhood, or do an alley cleanup, let me know and I can help get you connected to the bags and the litter grabbers and all the things that we need to get our neighborhood clean for spring. And then the final thing I wanted to say about parks is the horrible part. So sorry to be a downer, but one of the Benton Park, I guess, pioneers passed away last week For probably 30 years, Charles Hooker was our parks chairman. He was my mentor. He was the guy when I moved to the neighborhood in 2001 and wanted to get involved with the parks. Charles Hooker was our chairman for the Parks Committee. He also started, I would say he's probably one of the original founder of events in the neighborhood. For almost 20 years, he did the Benton Park Chalk Art Festival, which if anyone was around for one of our chalk art events that Charlie Hooker did, it was really kind of what set the stage for what we have now. Just this past Thursday, I found out that he had passed. And so I plan on, we already do have, we at the corner of Arsenal and Indiana, right where on the north side of the park where Indiana tees into Arsenal, there's actually a bur oak tree that a former President John Doggett dedicated to Charles Hooker, Pat Rummel, and myself for being the three amigos of the parks. But I hope to put maybe a larger garden there and maybe an additional little tree grove right there in memorial of Charlie Hooker, who was one of the original pioneers of Benton Park. So say a prayer for Hooker. So, and that would be all.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I found out about that. And if there's any information about a service or anything, maybe you could let us know.
I think we're going to do something at Venice. He was not a religious man and did not have a burial, just cremated. So we're going to have a thing at Venice.
Cool. All right. You'll get that on our website when it's arranged. Thanks. Well, good. The only thing left is the building review committee. If Tim wants us to hear any recent things going on, go ahead.
Sure. We've got a developer that we're working with at Utah in Salina. We met with him at our February building review committee. Very attractive looking home. We've asked for some additional information, namely a site plan so we can understand how the building is being positioned on the site and aligning with the house next door, and if there's an alley or a garage facility being installed. So that's still in progress. And then I heard from Cultural Resources today, there is a new developer on the project at 2913 Indiana. And so Dan Gunther and I had the pleasure of meeting this new developer. And I actually think it was like in November or so. And apparently they've just updated their drawings and applied for building permits. So Cultural Resources was concerned with some of the changes. So we'll take that up next week at the building review committee. So that's pretty much what we have going on.
Great, thank you. I don't have any further items for the agenda. If just to say that our website commerce module is working again, so people can renew their memberships and buy things as soon as we get more things. House plaques are still available. Anyway, if anybody has any other new business they want to bring up, now would be a good time.
I just have one question. Hey, Dan, if you're still there, there's some graffiti tags on the comfort station in the park. I don't know if it's been reported to Barb or to who should we report that to?
In Benton Park or Cherokee?
In Benton Park, yeah, like where the small fountain is, like on those stairs, the brick wall between them. There's some tags.
I'll get it turned in.
All right, thanks.
Well, good. Yeah, the pickleball courts are great, and I am in possession of a new set of pickleball rackets and balls, so I will be reporting on the experience of playing pickleball in Benton Park sometime in the near future. And other than that, we'll keep you posted about the next meeting, hopefully taking place back at the church. And otherwise, I'm ready to sign off. Thank you all for being here. And we'll see you around the neighborhood now that we can go out again without freezing, hopefully, huh? Good. All right. Well,
Thanks,
thanks,
everyone.
Tim. You can
Thanks,
sign us
Don.
off. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Right.